Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You
on the point of order.
Honorable
They are not picking our calls. They made up their
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring.
Every day, our lives are changed.
This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. First, the headlines. Suspected robbers kill army personnel in Edo State. ASI urges people to pay 8 months withheld salary. Lawyer demand audited financial statements of political parties. Finance Ministry urges MDAs to cut governance costs. UNDP holds 3-day retreat for Nigerian governors in Rwanda. Boy says net worth is $22 million. NFF approves payment of allowances to Super Falcons. stay with us on the Global News for tonight. Here is the bulletin in full. Suspected robbers have allegedly attacked an army patrol van, killing a soldier and carted away a sack bag believed to have been loaded with cash. 3 soldiers were said to have been in the military vehicle that was heading towards the Ipoba Hill axis of the Benin metropolis when the fearless assailants ambushed them at the traffic lights along the Akbaba Road by First Junction and caused mayhem amid the rain of bullets. The 3 soldiers were said to have abandoned their patrol vehicle and the loaded gunner must go as they raced in different directions for possible safety. Eyewitnesses said the attackers grabbed the bag from the military patrol van, dropped it in their operational Toyota Camry, and disappeared. The newsmen visited the scene a few minutes after the attack. The blood of the victim was visible on a walkway in front of a patrol station as shop owners hurriedly closed businesses and left. The incident, which the eyewitnesses said was the first of its kind in recent years in the state capital, sent cold shivers down the spines of traders and motorists in and around the downstream area of Benin City. When newsmen visited the scene a few minutes after the attack, the blood of the victim was visible still on the walkway around the petrol station. Commissioner of Police in Lagos State, Idowu Owahuwa, has alleged the fabrication of AK-47s and other firearms in the state. He raised the alarm during the inauguration of the Complaint Response Unit by the Acting Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetukun. Owahuwa said there was increased local expertise in the fabrication of firearms, including replicas of foreign-made pistols, AK-47s, and other assault rifles, coupled with the threat of cultism, which portends a security danger, adding that other threats include armed robbery, kidnapping, murder, and sexual gender-based violence. He also said the crime profile of the state is further accentuated by the prevalence of illegal firearms proliferation and illicit drug abuse and trafficking, stressing that hardly does a day pass by without the ever-vigilant operatives of the command recovering weapons and illicit drugs of various descriptions at stop and search points, and raids of black spots and other operational engagements, with all such recoveries linked to the perfection of crimes across the state. The Lagos State Police Command says it has nabbed a tractor driver, Isiaka Abdullahi, for allegedly damaging the property of 2 businessmen worth 320 million in the Ikorodu area. The 72-year-old man was arraigned before Magistrate Adeola Olatunbosun of Yaba Magistrates Court on 4 counts of willful damage. Abdullahi was alleged to have driven his tractor into the Mai 13 Owode Elede market in Ikorodu and destroyed bananas and other properties and goods belonging to Garba Mohammed and Adewala Teluwo. The prosecutor, ASP Amedu Adoga, told the court that defendants committed the offense in December 2022, adding that the offenses contravene sections 411, 350, 52, and 287 of the criminal laws of Lagos State 2015. The defendants, however, pleaded not guilty to the charges, while the case has been adjourned till November 20, 2023 for mention. Niger State Governor Mohammed Umaru Bago says he is planning to ensure that all the 25 local government councils in the state are positioned to be more viable, purposeful, and results-oriented to drive the policies of the state government. Represented by the Honorable Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Alhaji Muazu Hamidu Jantabo, stated this during an interactive section in his office at the State Secretariat in Mina, adding that this is the only way through which any meaningful development could be achieved for effective service delivery at the grassroots level. Alhaji Hamidu Jantambo, who identified lack of funds as a major factor confronting the smooth operation of local government councils in the state, stressed that such problems must be addressed squarely, while 15 out of the 25 local government councils in Niger are presently not viable without the current practice of joint accounts between the councils and the state government. On the security and well-being of the local government councils, the Commissioner disclosed that plans were underway by the state government to equip members of the Vigilante Corps to enable them discharge their duties diligently. About 4 people from Gidan, Damo village in Safe local government area of Zamfara state have been reportedly killed as armed bandits stormed the village and shot 7 people. A resident of the community who pleaded anonymity described the attack as terrible. According to him, the bandits invaded the village in large numbers on motorcycles and started shooting sporadically, while the villagers ran into the bush for safety, and some of them could not find their family members. Some residents said the insecurity situation in Zamfara has become terrible following a resurgence of banditry in the past 2 months, while the bandits have been operating on a daily basis. Spokesperson of the Zamfara State Police Command, ASP Yazod Abdullahi, is yet to make any statements on the matter. About 420,000 people cutting across the 11 LGs in Gombe State have been reached with the government's food and non-food items palliation to alleviate the negative effects of the removal of the fuel subsidy. Governor Muhammadu Inuwa Yahaya, who disclosed this while rounding up the distribution of palliative items in the first phase, said the state has received the sum of 2 billion naira out of the 5 billion relief funds that the federal government allocated to state for the purchase of food items for distribution to vulnerable members of the public to cushion the effects of fuel subsidy removal. He said that the government awaits the receipt of the balance and the 1 billion naira worth of maize, which the Central Bank of Nigeria is selling to each state from the National Strategic Reserve, and applauded the federal government for providing relief funds to each state of the federation, of which 48% is a loan that will be paid back over 20 months at 120 million monthly, starting from November this year. He also said the palliative distribution exercise was the 8th in the series of interventions carried out by his administration, adding that he will not relent in attending to the plight of his people and decried the lingering food crisis in the country, describing the ugly trend as a complex problem that calls for comprehensive solution from all stakeholders, adding that the distribution of palliative from the government will only provide a temporary relief. Aliyu Audu, a chieftain of the ruling All Progressive Congress, says the 45 ministers named by President Bola Tinubu were insufficient. According to Audu, Tinubu, as former Lagos State governor, felt that there was need to take governance closer to the people and demanded the creation of more local government. But when asked his preferred figure, Audu, a member of the Media Strategies Committee of APC Presidential Transition Council, said he is not putting any number to it. By speaking on Atlantic Television Network, a socio-political analyst, Comrade Imabe Oscar, stated that the statement by the APC chieftain is only a political gainsay, he cited.
They can also, the current administration, to see that they are being supportive. When somebody just say what they want to say, you have 45 ministerial positions, and you said it's not enough. And each of these ministerial positions, if you notice, they are contradicting. You see different ministerial positions, like how many ministerial positions have been created recently, just to make how many states do we have? 36 states that we have. You're talking about 200 million people. The 200 million people that you're talking about, or 200 million Nigerians that you're talking about, have 1 million failed the presidents of government so far. As well, do we have a system where 1,000 persons in the country has failed effectively the presidents of government at the grassroots level? Or we are talking about only those at the corridor of power. So why would you be thinking about creating more ministerial positions or ministries? Why thinking about that? Why saying 45 is not enough? And if come to think of it, how much do we have? How much are we owing? We can also, the current administration, to see that they are being supportive.
Similarly, he calls on the federal government to be focused and cut down the cost of governance so far.
Remove that as amounted to so amount of money. Where is it? Is it palliative that we're talking about? Or is it by buying how many vehicles for ministers? Now, come to think of it. These 45 ministers that we are already having have four vehicles to themselves already. Now, each of them has how many vehicles? Many of them are former governors of the states, of their various states, that are already in power as a minister. We have how many former governors in the ministerial position? As we speak today, we have how many former governors that are ministers? And we also have more positions that have been created. Well, if not because we added our voice and not because we said something, the current administration under Bola Ahmed would have scrapped Delta Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs. Sensitive position or sensitive ministry like that, then you want to scrap it away and then create another ministry or put it moved to the office or under the Ministry of the Secretary of Government Federation, if not because we added our voice and said no to that. Now, we have a situation where the president must understand that he needs people that can be able to give him the necessary advice that will make Nigeria move forward. I think with the current ministerial position or with the current ministers we have today, the president and Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, might not do better.
The Academic Staff Union of Universities has urged the new administration of President Bola Tinubu to, without further delay, ensure payment of the 8 months withheld salaries of the lecturers on the account of the 2022 patriotic strike action triggered by government's failure to honor agreements reached with the union. Also asked the new government to put machinery in motion for the speedy conclusion of the renegotiation of the 2009 ASU Federal Government of Nigeria agreement, following the recommendations of the Professor Nimi Briggs Committee to restore the integrity of the Nigerian university system. As the president, Professor Manuel Osodeke, in a statement in Abuja, said the union held its National Executive Council meeting at the University of Maiduguri, Borno State, and discussed the several issues affecting the Nigerian university system and the nation at large. The lecturers have also kicked against the dissolution of the governing councils of the federal universities by President Tinubu, saying it violated the extant laws establishing the institutions and called for the reinstatement of members of the councils to allow the smooth running of the universities. Osodeke said the NEC of ASU expressed serious concerns over the non-release of almost 8 months' salaries of university academics withheld on account of the 2022 patriotic strike triggered by government's failure to implement the December 2020 federal government and ASU memorandum of action and its truncation of the renegotiation of the 2009 federal government and ASU agreement, while noting that there was no justification for the non-release of the withheld salaries. Osodeke said the application of the anti-labor no work, no pay policy to academics ignored the indisputable facts that only the teaching component of academics work was suspended during the strike, adding that with the suspension of the strike through interventions by the then Honorable Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives, now Chief of Staff to Mr. President and Visitor to Federal University, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, and all the well-meaning Nigerians, the academics have made up for the lost ground under the most excruciating economic conditions. Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Yeson Wike, has visited the scene of the collapsed building in Garki Village, Abuja, and ordered the immediate arrest of the owner of the building. Now, this is coming after several residents were trapped in the rubble of the 2-story building that collapsed on Wednesday night. Wike, who gave the order, also applauded the ongoing rescue efforts, saying that it was unfortunate to wake up to the very disturbing news of the building collapse in the FCT. He also appealed to the permanent secretary to make sure that funds are raised to pay the hospital bills of those who were rescued.
Says take building plan. It is not as if government plan to suffer anybody. It's to make sure that anybody is protected. Cities are planned and to foster this kind of building without ask that the ones identified as the owner of this very will take over the areas and make sure those who are going to this carry that. And I want all the stakeholders to please work with government. It is in the interest of everybody. Nobody has come here to say, I don't like A, I don't like B, I like C. No. I know sometimes government officials may not be too comfortable with it. But at the long run, it's for the interest of everybody. None of us have gathered it. Who is happy? Nobody's happy. These are the things we are trying to foster. So once I sympathize with those who have lost their lives, our government will take all the bills of those who are alive so that at least after the 10 people that are right, know that we are after the 5 people that are right, know that we are happy that we are very enough. I don't want anybody to be. I want everybody to support those who are working hard the election and get to the last level so that if there are people that are still there, God willing,
The FC. Apologies for that. The FCT minister said that he will take immediate action to see that indigenous people of the village were resettled for government to plan for the area.
These are the things we are saying. Nobody knows whose turn it will be. And therefore, it is important that when government says they will take actions on certain areas that we believe that illegal development or even buildings that do not comply with the standard rules. It's not as if anybody has any responsibility. But for God, we have lost virtually everybody. And this is what we are trying to do. I do not know why it has taken long that the FCT did not resettle them. And so we take immediate action to see how indigenous.
And correspondent Rotimi Adewi reports that some residents of the area said they had persistently complained to the landlord, while a lawyer of the collapsed building said the structure was in a dilapidated state, saying that their complaints. The visible angry residents equally blame the relevant government agencies for failing to conduct integrity tests and or inspections on the building, which is located in the city center and highly populated area of Abuja. Tertiary Education Trust Fund has assured a speedy and smooth process of the implementation of its funds for the development of Nigerian universities. The Executive Secretary of TED Fund, Mr. Sani Echono, disclosed this at the two-day workshop organized for the TED Fund desk officers held in Owerri. Echono, who was represented by the Director of the Strategic Planning and Development Department of Fund, Mr. Erivo Inene, spoke on the theme improving TED Fund intervention programs and processes in beneficiary institutions. He said the essence of the workshop, which is to engage dialogue, discuss on ways in which they will improve in their operations to smoothen the process of accessing interventions and their implementation by the beneficiary institutions. The Executive Secretary also said desk officers are responsible for the day-to-day operations that exist between the fund and the institutions and positioned strategically to perform tasks and functions that require nature and methods of TED Fund operations, adding that the desk officers are expected to fully equip and knowledgeable about our guidelines and mandates. The National Chairman of All Progressive Grand Alliance, Barrister Sly Ezokenwa, has called for the review of the 1999 Constitution to entrench true federalism that will arrest insecurity in the Southeast region. Barrister Ezokenwa, who disclosed this at the APGA regional office in Oka, said perennial problems like ethnicity, religion, and constitutional flaws are hindering the sustainable development of Nigeria can be addressed through a constitutional amendment that will entrench true federalism. The APGA national chairman, who described the APGA as a vehicle that will bring the transformation of Nigeria, expressed his commitment to rebrand it by allowing progressive young men to drive the ideology of the party, adding that the task before him was to get the ideology of APGA right by changing the perception of the party as a mere vehicle for ascension to power instead of a party that is clearly identified by its ideology within the context of modern Nigeria. He also said the new leadership of APGA will introduce inclusive leadership that will allow every organ of the party to discharge its duties in line with APGA constitution, that will create an opportunity for young people to achieve their potential in APGA and enable it to contribute its quota to nation building. Barrister Ezokenwa also said his leadership is determined to fight indiscipline among members of APGA and stop the collection of gifts from aspirants by officers of the party during primaries to pave way for emergence of competent leaders. Court of Appeal in Owerri, Imo State has sacked Julius Abure and recognized Lamido Apapa as the national chairman of the Labour Party. The court also ordered the Independent National Electoral Commission to immediately recognize and publish the names of all the governorship candidates produced by the Apapa-led National Working Committee in Imo State, Bayelsa, and Kogi States. The court also dismissed the governorship candidature of Senator Athan Achono of Imo State and others belonging to the Abure-led Labour Party faction. In April, you recall that Apapa said his suspension as a member of the party was invalid, noting that he remained the legitimate acting chairman. In a statement issued by the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Obiora Ifo, that prior to this, on May 26, a state high court sitting in Edo dismissed the notice of suspension issued against Abure by some party members at the ward level, while the Judge Justice Emmanuel Aihamoje threw out the case for lacking merit. Akure-based legal practitioner Femi Emmanuel Emo-Damori has requested for the certified true copies of audited annual financial statements of political parties in the country from the Independent National Electoral Commission. Damori, in a later address to the national chairman of the INEC, said the request became necessary after discovering the Electoral Commission has not been alive to its all-important constitutional responsibility of publishing and directing the publications of audited accounts of funds and accounts of political parties as stipulated in the Constitution. He expressed shock over the development, noting that the electoral umpire has failed to live up to its responsibilities by not publishing and directing the publications of audited accounts of funds and accounts of political parties. The legal practitioner urged INEC to examine, audit, and publish the annual funds and accounts of political parties for public information in Section 89, Subsection 3, Subsection 6, and Subsection 8 of the Electoral Act 2022, which specifically mandated every political party to submit separate audited election expenses to INEC together with an affidavit of its correctness to be sworn by the party's auditors and chairman within 6 months after the election, and for INEC to make them available for public inspection. The above branch of the Nigerian Bar Association has denied the claims that controversial Nigerian lawyer and social media influencer Ifunanya Excel Grant, better known online as Baddest Lawyer, is one of its members. The statement was issued on Tuesday and signed by NBA above branch chairman Innocent O. Egu Esquire and Secretary Mazi K.C. Okoro. For the records, it said, we wish to state categorically that Ms. Ifunanya Excel Grant is not a member of the NBA Abba branch, and she is unknown to NBA Abba branch. Reacting on this issue on Atlantic Blowout, 18 Atlantic Television Network Blowout, Barrister Clem Akusi, the public affairs analyst, said the case of Ifunanya Excel grants on professional displays could be as a result of external influence or the choice of profession.
Our legal profession actually came because it's noble to them.
Okay.
The country has positioned us in such a way that we are forced to have degrees that we don't need. Parents are forcing children into career choices that they don't want to even do in the first place.
Okay.
If you consider, I used to have a classmate who deferred admission at his 400 level.
Wow.
He's a very brilliant, very intelligent young. He said he can't continue this path. He wants to be a fashion designer. He doesn't know what he's doing in law. But let's assume that he was able to pull through, go to law school and come out. And then you see him in a fashion house. You're wondering what he's doing there. We also have the ones that pulled out very close and went back to psychology, Department of Psychology, to go and study psychology. And that one, I had to talk with him personally. I said, what is that little problem? He said this has been his dream, but his father is a lawyer. His father wanted him to study law, and every time he felt like he was lying to himself.
Barrister Kusi further explained the various code of conduct in the legal profession that must not be faulted.
Lawyer is not supposed to involve in activities that are incompatible with the legal profession, which include acting.
Okay.
You can't be found to doing a movie or a film
as a practicing
lawyer unless you are taking a role as a practicing lawyer in it.
Okay.
Yes, so, but you can't do that. Now, also, you're not expected to see a lawyer who is dressed as a lawyer in a beer parlor drinking.
Oh, really?
Yes. So if I want to drink as a lawyer, I would come there as a normal person. So I'm not identified. Now, the problem with Ifunanya is not that she appeared as she did any of the things she did. The problem is that she did it fronting herself.
Protesters stormed the headquarters of the ruling All Progressive Congress with scores of demonstrators from Cross River State, claiming that their slot has been stolen. The protesters clashed with the fierce-looking security agents as they confronted the national headquarters, demanding that the slot of National Women Leader, which was previously occupied by Dr. Betta Edu but now allocated to Edo State, be returned. Although they were stopped from having access to the APC National Secretariat, the protest came a few hours to the inauguration of the newly elected members of the National Working Committee. While the protesters engaged in a shouting march with placards held high above their heads, lamented that the outgoing National Deputy Chairman for North, Senator Abubakar Kyari, was replaced by Bono Party Chairman Ali Dalari, while the founder of Sister to Sister Empowerment Worldwide, Dr. Mary Idele from Edo State, was elected to occupy the office of the National Women Leader previously held by Dr. Betta Edu. Meanwhile, the National Working Committee have released a new set of elected zonal officers of the National Working Committee on Wednesday in Abuja. National Secretary of the APC, Senator Dibola Bashiru, after the unveiling, explained that the election of new officers aligned with the mandates given to them at a meeting held at the Transcorp Hilton in Abuja. You're watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We will be back after the break.
From line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought a very family.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
Good to have you back on ATN Global News. Here is the rest of our stories. House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee investigating mismanagement and job racketeering in MDAs has expressed its displeasure over the absence of ministries, departments, and agencies for refusing to appear before it even after the issuance of several invitations. The chairman of the Ad Hoc Committee, Honorable Yusuf Gatti, on behalf of the committee, warned government agencies unwilling to appear that they will have themselves to blame when certain actions are meted out on these agencies.
This is one of the channels of communications that National Assembly is allowed to use without even writing letters to those agencies. So I'm sure this will serve as a last call to all agencies to make sure they appear before us here. And with this, no agency will have excuse that they haven't seen our invitation. This is in addition to other agencies that we have not published their names, and we have written to them for the first time to appear. We must have an engagement with them and they must come here. Otherwise, agencies that refuse to honor our invitation should blame themselves for whatever information we receive from approving authorities in the like federal character, like budget office, like head of service. We will use the information we receive from those departments as their nominal role to send our report at plenary, and that is what we are going to recommend to forensic auditors to audit. So the agencies should find themselves to be blamed should their staffs, who they refuse to appear before us here to defend the legitimacy of their employment.
Meanwhile, the Chief of Medical Director of the Federal Medical Center, Professor Saad Ahmed, who was before the committee, availed the nominal roll of staff and other documents, noting that its first employment was carried out in 2018. The chairman further disclosed that university teaching hospitals and other agencies will appear before the ad hoc committee and further hearing. Here is the business news for tonight. Permanent Secretary, Special Duties, the Federal Ministry of Finance, Mr. Okokon Udo, has stressed the need for cost-cutting and governance. A statement by the ministry's Director of Press and Public Relations, Stephen Kilebi, said governments at all levels are faced with the challenge of lean economic resources, whereas the needs of the citizenry are on the increase. While stressing the need for the establishment of the efficiency unit by the federal government to reduce the wastages, block leakages, and cut costs in all ministries, departments, and agencies, Udo said this during a study tour to the Federal Ministry of Finance, Abuja, by a delegation from the Ministry of Finance, Nasarawa State, led by Dr. Agot James, adding that a purpose-driven economy must harness all economic building tools to achieve its aim. The statement noted that the federal government established the efficiency units at the federal level, which will harness all that the government has and prudently manage it to have a robust economy. He further urged government officers at all levels to imbibe the culture of efficiency by spending government resources in a more productive manner. Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative says the involvement of the private sector, especially banks and other financial institutions, was a critical success factor to check illicit financial flows and money laundering and terrorism financing in the West African sub-region. NATI's Executive Secretary Obonnaya Orji disclosed this while addressing the regional conference of member states of the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa in Accra, Ghana. NATI said the meeting resolved to deploy adequate information and accurate data to assist relevant authorities and the private sector, including financial institutions and designated non-financial institutions, in their efforts to combat money laundering and associated predicate offenses, adding that the regional meeting also resolved to take steps to ensure a balance between beneficial ownership, transparency objectives, and protection of citizens and individuals' rights to privacy and data protection. It also noted that to ensure compliance by reporting institutions and other private sector entities, the forum resolved to strengthen cooperation among GIABA member states and beneficial ownership data verification. The federal government says it is planning the electrification of 46,661 micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as households and public facilities, with a total of 103 mini-grids. It stated this through the Rural Electrification Agency, adding that the 103 mini-grids were deployed across the country under the performance-based grant subcomponent of the Nigerian Electrification Project, funded by the World Bank, adding that it signaled a crucial advancement in enhancing electricity access to households, MSMEs, as well as public facilities in rural and undeserved regions of Nigeria. While speaking during the 10th mini-grid roundtable discussion, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Ahmad Salihijo said the agency was dedicated to bridging the energy access gap in Nigeria, with the mandate to increase access to electricity by bridging the energy access deficit in Nigeria. The agency is implementing various electrification programs, including the Nigeria Electrification Project, targeted at creating lasting impact by fostering economic growth, improving education, and enhancing the overall quality of life of Nigerians. The head REA project managing unit of the NEP, Abba Aliyu, expressed satisfaction at the accomplishments, stating that they have successfully completed commissioned 103 mini-grids as part of the NEP initiative. You're still watching the global news on Atlantic Television Network. Here is an international tidbit. The United Nations Development Programme has scheduled a 3-day leadership retreat for the state governors, Nigerian governors in Rwanda. According to a statement from the Secretariat of the Nigerian Governors Forum, the 3-day program is funded by the UN agency, which begins today in Kigali, Rwanda. The statement described the retreat as part of UNDP's commitment to raising the level of governance in Africa and other parts of the world. UNDP official Lilam Behand Dinku said the retreat covers the impact of an increasingly digital and innovation-driven society for a growing youth population with an elusive youth dividend, including the rapid pace of urbanization and a highly globalized world, to rising climate change, which poses tremendous challenges for African countries. He also said the program is designed to provide a transformative platform for public officials to collectively reflect, learn, and exchange insights on effective leadership and complex challenges, adding that by focusing on experiential learning, exploration, and reflection, the distinguished participants will be equipped with the necessary skills and competencies to lead in highly complex and uncertain environments. According to the UNDP, the program being organized in partnership with the Nigerian Governors Forum will equip participants with enhanced leadership skills, knowledge, and the mindset. President Bola Tinubu has received the letters of credence from the ambassadors designated at the presidential villa in Abuja. Letter of credence is a formal letter that the ambassadors show the president that their government appointed them to serve in Nigeria. By speaking to State House correspondent, Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Togor said ambassadors designated are from the Republic of Cuba, the United Arab Emirates, and the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia.
Well, it was the ambassadors of Ethiopia, of Cuba, and United Arab Emirates presenting the letters of credence. And these are countries that we've had very good and close relationships with for many years. And, there were several discussions about ongoing issues, and it was very, very amiable. And, some of them were quite emotional because, for instance, the ambassador of Cuba is returning for the second time as Cuba's ambassador to Nigeria. And of course, United Arab Emirates as well. So, very keen to resolve all outstanding issues, with Nigeria, and very fruitful discussions. Absolutely, because the work had started even before the presentation of the letters of credence by the ambassador. So this is something that we're going to see changes, issues resolved as quickly as possible.
Sugar, who assumed office on Monday, had pledged that he would represent Nigeria's new foreign policy, which would reposition the country at the pinnacle of visionary and global decision-making. Algeria and Egypt have moved against military intervention in the Niger Republic, insisting that dialogue remains the best option out of the current political crisis in the country. This is coming after West African leaders had, in the aftermath of the coup that toppled President Mohamed Bazoum, threatening to embark on military intervention in the Sahel country should the coup leaders, led by General Abdurrahman Tiani, fail to restore democracy in the country and the ousted president to power. Oppositions to military option have also come from prominent individuals and groups in Nigeria, including the National Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, Jama'atu Nasrul Islam, Catholic Bishops Conference of Nigeria, Christian Association of Nigeria, Arewa Consultative Forum, Northern Elders Forum, among others, while also advocating dialogue to resolve the crisis in Niger. They contended that any military operation in the country could create problems for Nigeria, being its closest neighbor, adding that over 7,000 migrants are currently stranded in Niger as a result of border closures. Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune has dispatched the Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf to visit Nigeria, Benin Republic, and Ghana with a mandate to make a case for diplomacy rather than military intervention. Leader of the Russian mercenary group Wagner, Yevgeny Prigozhin, died in a plane crash that raised attention and speculations around the world, specifically concerning the alleged plot by the militant group to back the military junta in Niger Republic. This is coming after the Niger junta, led by General Abdurrahman Chani, which toppled President Mohamed Bazoum in July, was alleged to be in serious talks with Wagner for military assistance to contain a possible attack by the ECOWAS standby force after the regional bloc threatened to restore Bazoum to power through military intervention. The death of Prigozhin may have changed the equation in the country, but experts are looking at the issue with a deep sense of caution due to Russia's alleged depth moves in complicating issues of this nature. Russian authorities said Prigozhin was reported to be on the list of passengers on the aircraft that crashed in its region, while the Russian Emergencies Ministry said that private aircraft came down near the village of Kuzenkino and all in it were killed. The ministry said the jet was flying from Moscow to St. Petersburg and that 10 people, including 3 crew members, were on board, adding that 8 bodies have been found at the crash site. Prigozhin has been keeping a low public profile since heading his short-lived mutiny in June, which lasted only 24 hours. United Kingdom Minister of the Armed Forces, James Hiapei, has given his country's full support to the Economic Community of West African States' efforts to restore democratic order in Niger Republic following the July 26 military coup that toppled the democratically elected President Mohamed Bazoum. This is coming after Hiapei arrived in Nigeria to meet up with Nigerian defense leaders and military chiefs to deepen defense cooperation between both countries and discuss the situation in Niger, adding that during his visit, Minister Hiapei met senior leaders within the Nigerian Ministry of Defense, as well as the Chief of Defense Staff and Chief of Army Staff. He also met with the President of the Economic Community of West African States, a commission where he reiterated the UK support for ECOWAS' ongoing diplomatic efforts to Guinea to ensure a peaceful return to democracy in Niger Republic. He also noted that the UK support to the Nigerian armed forces is a focus of the relationship, helping to build Nigerian capabilities to tackle security threats and instability, stressing that Nigeria is a key partner in promoting regional security and countering violent extremism in West Africa, including the Lake Chad Basin. About 4 people were killed and 6 wounded in a mass shooting at a landmark biker bar in Trabuco Canyon in Orange County in Southern California. The law enforcement sources said the gunman was a retired Ventura County law enforcement officer, and it is unclear whether the shooter followed targets to the location before opening fire on the crowd. He said that after prohibition ended in 1933, alcohol was added to the menu and Cook's Corner became a full-fledged bar. In 1946, Cook bought an old mess hall from the Santa Ana Army Air Base and hauled it up El Tora Road, and the tavern was born. Motorcycle riders discovered the place in the 1970s, and it has been a popular spot for decades. BRICS says it has accepted the request to add Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates as new member countries. Some African presidents, Cyril Ramaphosa, who disclosed this, said the debate among BRICS member nations to expand remains debatable. The BRICS group accounts for more than 42% of the world population, 30% of the world's territory, 23% of the global economy, and 18% of global trade, adding that one of its founding values is a shared commitment to restructuring the global political, economic, and financial architecture to be fair, balanced, and representative, while resting on pillars of multilateralism and international law. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa are the pioneering nations that formed the BRICS. Meanwhile, Vice President of Nigeria, Kashim Shettima, is at the 15th BRICS Summit in Johannesburg, South Africa, to represent Nigeria, to represent President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky marks the country's 32nd Independence Day and has appealed for unity in the face of Russia's invasion, which began exactly 18 months ago. Zelensky thanks the soldiers, armament workers, electricians, journalists, the miners, teachers, doctors, and athletes for their efforts and recorded the sacrifices made, adding that all those who pay taxes help support the armed forces and ensure future victory. Ukraine's Independence Day commemorates the Declaration of Independence from the Soviet Union adopted on August 24, 1991. In spite of some success in Ukraine's counter-offensive against Russian forces, Moscow continues to control almost one-fifth of its neighbors' territory, including the Black Sea Peninsula of Crimea, which is annexed in 2014. Here is entertainment news for tonight. Nigerian chef Hilda Basi has unveiled her difficulties growing up with a certain stereotype. Hilda Basi talked about the difficulties successful women like her frequently encounter as a result of misconceptions. She disclosed this while talking about her personal experiences with stereotypes, particularly given her stature as a successful and diverse woman. Hilda replied by disclosing her own personal experiences with stereotypes. Grammy-winning singer Burna Boy says his net of wealth may be close to $22 million specified on Google research. He expressed his unwillingness to delve into the specification, adding that he prefers people to hold on to that. Burna Boy spent his early years in Nigeria. Here is the sports news for tonight. Nigeria Football Federation has confirmed to the House of Ad Hoc Committee on Disputes between Super Falcons and NFF that the Federation has commenced the part of allowance and bonuses of commenced payment for part allowances and bonuses of the Super Falcons. The NFF President Ibrahim Gusau, who disclosed this in Abuja when he appeared before the House Ad Hoc Committee after being summoned, Gusau explained that no funding was released for the Super Falcons in 2019 FIFA Women's World Cup, and that in 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup hosted by Australia and New Zealand cost $960,000 were given to all 32 countries. That $960,000 were given to all 32 countries that qualified. According to him, his preparation money provided by FIFA is to be used by the countries to prepare the teams for the World Cup.
NFF has a contract with a company called Ateo, an oil company, about 5 years ago. That contract composed of payment of coaches, both foreign and local coaches. Unfortunately, during the pandemic and a year after, which is almost the period in which the contracts between NFF and Ateo will end. Ateo has some little problem in their production and they were not able to meet their obligation. So it was on the basis of that we have this problem of non-payment of coaches' salary from. And then when I came about 10 months ago, I met this kind of problem on ground. I try my best to see that the little resources I have, that's why you see in some areas we try to pay some of the coaches starting for months just to see how we can reduce the money before we resolve our issue with Ateo and get the money to pay these coaches for that. Now, we have engaged a consulting company that are negotiating with Ateo. We are at an advanced stage in which they are going to pay us our outstanding money with them so that we can see how we can settle all this problem of coaches. It's not that it is deliberate, but for example now, this one is a foreign coach. The 80,000 they paid the 80,000 balance of the salary just about 3 or 4 days ago. And immediately after the end of the World Cup, the contract of NFF with the coach has ended.
Question on how the NFF is being funded. The president revealed that the federation usually gets its funds from CAF and FIFA. He also said the Federation is making arrangements with organizations and companies to address the non-payment of coaches' salaries, noting that an already existing contract ended, which has led to the existing challenges.
NFF has a contract with a company called ITO, an oil company, about 5 years ago. That contract composed of payment of coaches, both foreign and local coaches. Unfortunately, during the pandemic and a year after, which is almost the period in which the contracts between NFF and ITO will end, ITO has some little problem in their production and they were not able to meet their obligation. So it was on the basis of that we have this problem of non-payment of coaches' salary from. And then when I came on board about 10 months ago, I met this kind of problem on ground. I try my best to see that the little resources I have, that's why you see in some areas we try to pay some of the coaches some months just to see how we can reduce the money before we resolve our issue with ATL and get the money to pay these coaches for that purpose. Now, we have engaged a consulting company that are negotiating with the ATL that we are at an advanced stage in which they are going to pay us our outstanding money with them so that we can see how we can settle all this problem of coaches. It's not that it is deliberate, but for example now, this one is a boarding coach. The 80,000 they paid the 80,000 balance of the salary just about 3 or 4 days ago. And immediately after the end of the World Cup, the contract of NFF with the coach has ended.
The chairman of the ad hoc committee reiterated that the House intervention in the dispute between NFF and the Super Falcons is hinged on the provisions of Section 88 of the 1999 Constitution as amended.
Intervention is hinged on the provisions Section 88 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. We decided to invite you to this interactive session to get first-hand information on the causes, challenges, and way out of the incessant problem. There is no doubt that the Super Falcons has made Nigeria proud, despite the litany of problems bedeviling them.
The committee, in the course of the investigation, is expected to establish the blueprint of NFF to put an end to the payment of March bonuses and allowances since 2016, the disparity between payment of Super Eagles and Super Falcons, amongst other problems bedeviling the Federation. The federal government has called on referee assessors in the country to constantly update their capacities with a view to bringing a turnaround in the performances of the domestic league in Nigeria. The Honorable Minister of Sports Development, Senator John Eno, gave the charge when he had a stopover where the referee assessors were holding their training. Senator Eno, who was led to the stopover by the ministry's permanent secretary Alhaji Ismaila Abubakar during the inspection tour of facilities at the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, he observed that all through the years of referees in Nigeria have been heavily criticized over their performances in the Nigerian leagues, adding that referees are critical stakeholders of the game of football, training and retraining in order to enhance their capacity for the development of sports in the country. The ministry spokesman Mohammed Manga, in a statement, says the minister at the stopover was received by the chairperson of the referees committee, Faith Irabo. John Mikel Obi says he will play for Chelsea in the Legends of Europe game against Bayern Munich. The game will take place at Stamford Bridge on September 9. The Legends March is put together in honor of former Chelsea forward and manager Gianluca Vialli. Mikel was a key member of the Blues side that won the UEFA Champions League in 2012. The former Nigerian captain will join fellow 2012 heroes John Terry, Malouda Ramirez, Salomon Kalou, and Michael Essien, as well as manager Roberto Di Matteo for the game, while all proceeds from the game will be split between the Chelsea Foundation and the Royal Martin Cancer Charity. What football governing body has opened disciplinary proceedings against Spanish Football Federation President Luis Rubiales for his behavior at the Women's World Cup final? Rubiales accused forward Gianni Hermosa on the lips after Spain beat England and grabbed his crotch as he celebrated at the final whistle. According to FIFA code, officials are among those that must comply with the principles of fair play, loyalty, and integrity. It says disciplinary measures can be brought against anyone violating the best rules of decent conduct, insulting a natural or legal person in any way, especially by using offensive gestures, signs, or language, or behaving in a way that brings the sport of football FIFA into disrepute. And that's as of the global news for tonight. But before we go, here is another look at the major stories. Suspected robbers kill army personnel in Edo State. ASU urges Tinubu to pay 8 months withheld salaries. Lawyer demand audited financial statements of political parties. Finance Ministry urges MDS to cut governance costs. UNDP hosts 3-day retreat for Nigerian governors in Rwanda. Boy says net of wealth is $22 million. NFF approves payment of allowance to Super Falcons. I'm Vivian Douglas. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on our social media platforms. On X, we are Atlantic TV Net. On Facebook and YouTube, we're Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram and TikTok, we're Atlantic TV Network 1. But remember that peace and unity are the pathway to progress. Have a good night.